Good morning, students. Today we are going to discuss about the fifth chapter in the English book number 1, Goldenrays. The fifth chapter is titled as A Hero, which is written by R.K. Narayan, who is the author. R.K. Narayan is a leading Indian English writer who is most famous for his work titled as Malgudi Days or Malgudi fictional writing. So he is a very kind of writer who is mostly touched the South Indian fiction, and R.K. Narayan is also a well-known prose writer who has a simplicity and who is not using much kind of a rustic language in his writing. So before we get into the chapter, let's look at a brief description about the author R.K. Narayan. So R.K. Narayan is born on October 10, 1906, who was a leading writer in Indian English writing. Most of his works are set in fictional South Indian town of Malgudi. The Malgudi Days is one of the most important works of R.K. Narayan, which was first introduced in Swami and Friends. His famous novel, The Guide, has been seen woven into a Hindi feature film guide. His works depict the social context and everyday life of his characters who are preeminently Indian. He is well known for his simplicity in prose tales. So as we already said, R.K. Narayan's peculiarity or the speciality of his writing is he did not write in a poetic language. He did not write in a language which is written in a verse form, but he is writing in a very simple and a very prosaic style. So this is a very brief description or a biographical description of the author of this short story. And the story, The Hero. The Hero is the title of this short story. This story mainly deals with the central concept of human beings, that is fear. So fear is the one thing which always pulls down, or one thing which always kept down for all human emotions in every human being or in every individual. So the central concept or the central theme of the story is the fear and cowardice. So how a man is fearful, or how an individual become fearful, and how this fear or how this cowardice or how this emotional tension is overcome due to various experiments. That is the main concept which mentioned in this chapter. So let's look at a brief description about the short story written in the text. So this is an interesting story of Malgudi Days written by R.K. Narayan. It's a story about a boy named Swami. So the central character of this short story is named as Swami, who is a boy who has not become an adult but a little boy who is afraid of sleeping alone in darkness. So the main problem of this boy, or the main fear, is mentioned here. What is the main fear? The main fear is he is afraid of sleeping alone. So there are also many of the scientific explanations are based on this kind of fear. It's some kind of psychic problem, or it's a psychic disadvantage that a boy cannot, or anyone cannot sleep alone. So this is the central theme: the fear of sleeping alone, the fear of being alone, the fear of becoming individual by itself is the main problem which mentioned or the main theme which mentioned in this short story. He is mistaken to be a hero. One desperate act led to the imprisonment of the most notorious thief of the area. So what makes him this fear makes him a notorious criminal or a notorious thief of that area. The boy's father compels him to sleep in a dark room alone in order to teach him a lesson of courage. So the father of this boy is Swami, who is always curious and who is always worried about the fear of this boy. This boy cannot sleep alone. This boy cannot be individual. This boy cannot be independent. So this father wants to take away this fear from his boy, this fear from his child. So he challenged an experience. He is challenging this boy to sleep alone in a room, and the incidents happened in that night is the main context, or the main the main aspect which mentioned throughout this story. So this is a small and brief description about the short story. A small description about the short story. Then now let's look at the detailed description, or the detailed rendering of the story. So the story begins in a morning where a father is just reading a newspaper, and in that newspaper he is just reading a news. A paragraph described the fight of the boy with a tiger and his flight up a tree where he stayed half a day till some people came that way and killed the tiger. So in that morning this father is having a tea and reading a newspaper, and he's happened to read a news about a boy with a tiger who had flight up the tree where he stayed. So he's been there in a tree for half a day for someone to make him escape. So by this moment, or by this news, this father is arguing with his son that you need this is a kind of boy that we can see from the newspaper, that he so much courage. Even if he got in front of the tiger, he is able to fight with the tiger, and he is able to resist with tiger. So this is the first news that he saw from a newspaper, and challenged his boy to become like that. And at first the boy Swami didn't accept the challenge, because he said that the father is just having a funny conversation or a funny challenge with him. But later on he realized that what the father is very much serious about this issue, and he needs this challenge to be established. So what? So the father is challenging the boy to sleep alone in a room for a night, and the incidents happened through this night, and the dreams happened in this night is the central concept which mentioned throughout this chapter, and how this boy is overcoming, and how this boy psychic or psychological aspects are are brainwashed. These were all the things that mentioned, and how this boy becomes a hero by overcoming the fear, by kept down his cowardice, or kept down his fear of being alone and the fear of being independent. So this is the main concept, and this is the main storyboard of this chapter. And we will look at the detailed line-to-line description, or the line-to-line explanation, or line-by-line explanation of the story in the next video. So thank you. And this is the central concept, or the central theme of the story is how an individual become a hero, or whether it's a man or a woman, how an individual becomes a hero by becoming independent, by overcoming fear, by overcoming their cowardice. So this is the main concept, or this is the main theme which explained in this short story by R.K. Narayanan. So it is a story which written in a very prosaic style, in a very simplistic language. So the detailed explanation we will look at the next video. Thank you, students.